Welcome to What in the Duck podcast. I'm your host, Oliver Peck. What in the Duck podcast is proud to be sponsored by Yellow Rose Canyon, your premier event space and campground nestled in the piney woods of East Texas. With cabins and RV sites available, Yellow Rose Canyon is perfect for your next event, no matter the size. A wedding, reunion, festival, you name it. Check it all out at yellowrosecanyon.com. Welcome to another episode of What in the Duck podcast. I'm your host, Oliver Peck, and today we have on the show one of the most inspiring tattoo artists that is around today. His name is Aaron Coleman from Immaculate Tattoo. He is an incredible artist. His determination and drive in his body of work is one of the most impressive. The amount of large-scale tattoos this guy has done over the years is second to none. The amount of flash and drawings and books and stuff that he has produced has inspired and influenced an entire generation. He has gone through crazy life struggles and traumas and dealings, and it's just such an inspirational story. And he's an incredible artist. And he has such a great eye for things. And the way he does something just has that look. You see the tat and you're like, Aaron Coleman did that. And his collection of art that he has himself is just wild. And the shop is just like I love a tattoo shop to be. Just packed to the fucking gills with cool shit. Every nook and cranny, corner to corner, floor to ceiling. And he always has great people working there, and nothing but the best of artists come through and work there. And I'm just stoked that I get to work with him, stoked that I go to his shop, stoked that he let me do an episode with him. And I'm here in the booth doing the intro, but the episode is recorded in his shop in Mesa, Arizona. If you're ever passing through, it's a must-see stop on the road of tattoo history. Check out Aaron Coleman. Coming up here in just a few minutes, and it's a good episode. It's a heavy episode. He's definitely, like I said, inspirational to the max, and I love him and I appreciate him being on here. And I'm going to start off the episode with a couple of questions. As always, if you want to ask me anything, I might answer it. But you got to email it over to whatintheduckpodcast@gmail.com. And if I answer your question on the show, we will be sending you some cool shit from the podcast. All right. Also, don't forget, sometimes I forget to mention it. Sometimes I remember to mention it. But today, I'm going to remind you guys to click all the links, do all the things, like, comment, subscribe. You can even join the podcast. You can become a member of What in the Duck podcast, and you can get a bunch of free perks and a bunch of cool shit and by being a member. And, you know, there was a question somebody asked about getting one of these autographed ducks, and being a subscriber is one of the ways that you can get one of these What in the Duck ducks. So first question today from Mike. He says, "Hey, Oliver, where/when did the phrase What in the Duck begin? How can I earn an autographed duck from the shelf behind you? Love the podcast. Thanks for turning me on to Armchair Martian." All right, Dave. It's not Dave. Mike, you heard it here. You can get one of these ducks. Actually, one of these ducks from the shelf behind me. If you can actually, I think you can go to Anchor Screen Printing and purchase one for like $1 million. Actually, they're cheaper than that, but worth every penny. Or you can become a subscriber of the podcast. And also, dude, thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in and hearing about Armchair Martian. John Snodgrass, wild man, crazy guy. Could have him talk for weeks on end. And I do love Armchair Martian, and I'm glad you do too. The phrase, what in the duck? Well, I'm going to do the quick abridged version of the story. When I was young, I'm sure I've told this story before, but when I was young, I got a duck tattooed on my neck, which spawned people to start calling me Ducky, which it kind of became a nickname for a short amount of time. I had business cards that said Oliver Ducky Pecker on them, blah, 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 blah. People started giving me ducks. People literally gave me truckloads of ducks at one point. Like, I'm not kidding. I had a truckload, a whole truck full of ducks. That's a whole nother story for another day. But these are some of those ducks. And one of the things I say all the time, one of my common phrases is I say, what in the fuck? And I either say it like when something's fucked up. I'm like, what in the fuck is that? You know, or sometimes I'm just say, hey, what in the fuck? Or like, instead of saying like, what's up? Like, hey man, what's up? I say, hey man, what in the fuck? Like, what is up? That's kind of my way. And this podcast, thinking about what I was going to name the podcast, is like, hey, I'm bringing people on here to find out what's up with them. So I'm like, hey, it's like saying what's up, but I'm saying what in the fuck. But to be a little bit PC on the internet, you know, also spawned by every time I would type fuck in my iPhone for like a decade, it would just change it to duck. And I got to the point where I would not correct it. I would type fuck and it would say duck and I would leave it. You know, so I'd type like duck you and like where the duck are you and all these things all the time. And it just became a thing. And then I just kind of embraced it. And ducks kind of became my thing. I don't really personally like go out and seek to collect that many duck things, but people do give me a lot of duck things. I do collect TV lamps, ceramic mid-century TV lamps that are ducks. There are some here in the booth. If you know what a TV lamp is, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what a TV lamp is, then I'm going to leave that to your curiosity to go find out what a TV lamp is. But I do collect TV lamps. I do not have I don't have TVs that use TV lamps anymore, but I do have a lot of TV lamps. And so that's the whole thing about What in the Duck. What in the Duck podcast is basically just like, hey, we're here with so-and-so. We're going to find out what the fuck is up. Although the name of the podcast has been PG'd down, instead of calling it What in the Fuck with Oliver Peck, the podcast itself has not been PG'd. We do say fuck quite a bit. We do say whatever the fuck we want to say on here. So there you go. Next question from Chris Flores. Hey, Oliver, big fan of your tattoo work, and the podcast is great. Keep them coming. He says, after hearing you go on about Primus on your show, I completely agree with you, by the way. I was basically just saying, the quote I think I said was, Primus was playing, and I said it sounded like I had a 15-year-old kid that was in the other room trying to learn every single instrument all at the same time. It made no sense. It was like, whatever. But anyway, obviously, I don't enjoy Primus. But he said, I completely agree with you. Curious to know what you think about Dan Higgs' music. I know you have much respect for him as an artist and a tattooer. Just wanted to know your thoughts on his music career, Lungfish, and his solo work. Then he says, man, that stuff is out there. Hard for me to listen to. Wanted to know your take. Thanks. I've known Dan Higgs a long time. Got tattooed from him in the 90s. He was definitely a big inspiration to me in tattooing. I love his art. And when he first came out with the band, the Lungfish, it kind of became an instant thing that tattoo shops would play because it's Dan Higgs and it's his band. And some songs are less like songs than others. The earliest stuff was definitely kind of what you would consider music. There's a lot of experimental shit going on with Dan Higgs, and that's how he ended up being who he is. I mean, his art, his drawings, his paintings are out there. You know, his stuff, his art that's not tattooing is very out there, and he's an experimental dude. I would agree that a lot of his music is hard to listen to, and some of his stuff is not the kind of music you want to play at a tattoo shop because Tattoo shop is open to the public. Tattoo shop is an environment where everybody's sharing the same experience. Everybody's listening to it. I don't really like to listen to anything that's not like overall user-friendly and good time shit so everybody can be in there. You're in pain. You don't want to be barraged by crazy metal music or abrasive, ghetto rap or it's just like you want to play stuff that everybody can kind of groove to. But I have seen Dan Higgs play live multiple times, and it is a completely different scenario when you see him play live because it's art, it's sound, it's poetry, it's a performance. It's incredible. It's awe-striking to see him play. I've seen him play where it's kind of like a rock kind of set, and I've seen him play where he's just making crazy noises with African instruments. I mean, I've seen him do banjo stuff. And live, there's a lot of the music that I've seen him play live that is just, it's an incredible performance, but that same music, you wouldn't listen to it recorded. It's not the same thing. It doesn't have the vibe, the feel, the atmosphere. It is very much a performance art. So I agree with you that a lot of his stuff is hard to listen to, but I also think that his stuff is pretty incredible and imaginary and creative and experimental. And it's definitely the kind of music that's not for everybody. And his whole music catalog is not something that I like everything that he does. I appreciate everything he does, but it's not like Steely Dan where every song is a hit. I could listen to every single Steely Dan album in a row on loop till the end of time and just be chilling because it's just great. There is some abrasive Dan Higgs music, but I got to applaud him for his creativity. And like I said, live puts a whole new spin on it. I don't know if you'll ever get a chance to see him play live. I don't know what he's doing these days, but he's one of the most out there, crazy, cool people that I've ever known and ever met. And just to throw a little bit of a tidbit of story onto the end of this before we get into the Sarah Coleman episode, it's almost kind of tattoo folklore now. This story has been told, and I've personally heard a few different versions of this story from a few different people, but I remember this story when it was brand new, when Dan Higgs worked at Tattoo City. And Dan Higgs had a big beard and always wore like a trench coat and a beanie hat. And he looked like an old man from the sea. Like he was definitely in character or a bum. He looked like, basically what I'm saying is he looked like a bum. And he was standing out front of the shop before the shop opened. And somebody showed up to the shop that had an appointment to get a tattoo. They showed up, the door was locked, and they went to the door, and it was like a few minutes before the shop opened. And they looked in the window, and nobody was in there, and there was this bum standing out front. And the bum came up, was like, "Hey, man, you got a cigarette, or you got a light, or you got a whatever?" And they're like, "No, man." And they're like, kind of like brushed him off, and like, they didn't want to be bothered. This was someone who was not from San Francisco. They had flown in to go get a tattoo, and they showed up. And they're like standing outside the door. And then awkwardly enough, this bum just stood there right by him while they were like waiting to go in. And then finally, the story goes, stroke of noon, this bum pulls out his key and unlocks the door and walks in and says, "Come on in." And the guy's like, "I have an appointment with Dan Higgs." He's like, "That's me." And that's the story. And if you knew Dan Higgs and you've ever seen Dan Higgs from that time, it is not a far out unbelievable story. But I don't know who that was that got that tat, and I'm sure they felt like, oh man, they'll never forget it. Hopefully they still got a tattoo, but I love I got a few tattoos from Dan Higgs, and I love them, and they're the best. And I'll have them till I die. That's the good thing about tats. All right. That being said, we're going to keep talking about tattoos, amongst other things, and art, and Aaron Coleman coming up right next. So we'll stick around. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, comment. Thank you, guys. What in the Duck podcast is proud to be sponsored by Dream Machines of Texas. All of your used motorcycle wants and needs all in one place at dreammachinesoftexas.com. They have multiple locations, large inventory, and get new bikes in every week. Knowledgeable staff with great service, financing and extended warranty options available. They also have a complete service garage, so every bike is gone through and brought up to speed before you hit the road. I've bought more than a few bikes from Dream Machines over the years, and I could not be more satisfied. I have also had friends from all over the country buy bikes because they couldn't find a better deal anywhere. You can buy a bike and have it shipped to you anywhere in the U.S. Why buy a brand new bike with that brand new high price when you can get a like new bike with that dream deal you've been looking for? Go to dreammachinesoftexas.com and get a bike and get your ass on the road. All right, we're rolling. Welcome to another episode of What in the Duck podcast. I'm your host, Audra Peck, and today we are inside the insanely incredible, immaculate tattoo in Mesa, Arizona with Aaron Coleman.
Hello.
Hey, thank you for having us here in the shop. I'm really stoked to be able to set up in here. We're going to show you guys a little video around the shop because it's just, this is, to me, what a tattoo shop's supposed to look like.
Hey, thanks, man.
And one of my favorite shops. And people, I travel around a lot. And whenever I come here and people know, it's like, oh, man, you went to Immaculate. And people either, man, I love that shop, is what they say, or, man, I want to go to that shop. Yeah. I've heard about that shop. And then it's amazing to me. We're talking about tattoo shops anyway, but it's amazing to me how such a small space can have such a huge impact.
Yeah.
You know, like my shop is small, 1,000 square feet. This shop is pretty small.
Yeah, it's about that as well.
And, you know, Spotlight Tattoo is small, you know, but it still has such an immense presence.
Thanks.
And you come to these tattoo shops and you spend time in here and then you leave and you feel like it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And you don't go there for a couple of years and you come back, because people say it to me all the time. They come back to Elm Street Tattoo and like, man, I remember it being so big in here.
Yeah.
You know, but it never was big. It was just so much shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that too. And I feel like shops nowadays just don't have that. Like everyone kind of went crazy with being clean and sterile and, you know, and it lost something somewhere along the line.
I tell people you can be messy, cluttered,
and clean
and sterile at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, and I love that. And it's crazy. Like customers come in all the time now and they come back and they'll be like, oh, I saw something. And sometimes you can't even find it because there's so much shit, you know, up here. But it keeps people coming back. And it's amazing how much of the flash and stuff that we've done here over the years actually has gotten tattooed on people. And yeah, it's awesome, man. It has a life of its own, you know, which is cool, especially in this day and age of computers. And
well, I'm not going to say where or who or names, but I did go into a tattoo shop in recent times that was all white.
Yeah.
Not a single piece of art on the wall.
Yeah.
Just clean everything, nothing to look at, and just a bunch of lay down tables and ring lights, and that's it.
Yeah, it's soulless.
And I was just like, and Steve Byrne, who was with me, was like, it's like the fucking DMV in here.
Yeah.
It's like, all they did is worse than the DMV. Like,
yeah, fuck.
But insane. Like this is an art driven
occupation.
Yeah, and community, like art. Like you want visual and intellectual stimuli at every turn, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I love being able to go into different shops in different states and then you see art that you're like, who the fuck did this? You know, this is amazing, you know?
And for you particularly, though, everybody has like me, I have a lot of Scott Harrison artwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a lot of R.K. Sloan artwork. And so it's like, you're the only person I know that has these original paintings, you know,
Yeah.
and I come and it's like, I look at every single one every time I come here, you know, it's just like, oh my God. If you don't know about R.K. Sloan's artwork, it's definitely something to check out.
Oh, he was amazing. And underground as fuck, you know, and never really, I mean, he was big in the 90s with like the whole Robert Williams scene.
But
and
only
the
in that
lowbrow thing.
sub pop culture.
Yeah, and he just didn't sell out. He was that dude, you know, till the end. And yeah, he was awesome. I was really fortunate to get to know him, and through him met a lot of great people. All those guys in Albuquerque that, you know, I've had long time friendships with, and yeah, changed my life a lot, you know. And but it all stemmed from, you know, just being a kid, getting into skateboarding, getting into punk rock, you know. And eventually I just abandoned skateboarding because I started going to shows and, you know, just being a shithead kid and drinking and partying. But it also introduced me to, you know, so many different styles of art and tattooing and, you know, all that shit. Probably similar to you and, you know, how you came up. It seemed like a lot of our generation kind of was influenced by all that stuff.
Well, one of the first things I wanted to talk to you about is just in tattoo history and tattoo flash culture. There's like these certain pivotal moments when certain flash sets come out that kind of like define a new scene or new generation of art that's coming around. And you and Bob Roberts and Richard Stell did a collaboration together, which when I just heard that it was happening, was like, this is going to be the shit. Like, you know, I love Richard.
Oh yeah.
You know, I love Bob. I know you love Richard and Bob, you know, but just like those art styles. And then you were the younger of the three guys or whatever. And that was just like the coolest thing, to anticipating seeing what came out of that package. And it was super fucking cool. I just want to hear like the origin story of how that came about and what it was like. What process did y'all use to go through that? Were y'all in the same room together? Did you mail sheets back and forth? Did you talk about what you're going to do? All that kind of, you know, just like, how did that come about? Because it's one of my favorite tattooer collabs in the last 20 years of tattoo history, because, you know, the Ed Hardy, Eddie Deutsch set that came out that just blew everybody's minds, and every tattoo shop had that, you know,
we
and then
still have it.
Yeah. And then it was just like, we heard this thing was coming out and everybody's like, oh, it's like, that was of that era. That was the must-have thing.
Yeah. Like those, I mean, I was blown away that they even brought me into that, you know. I was like, this is nuts. And I was super stoked because, I mean, both those guys were huge, massive influences on me, you know. And I love those guys, and they're great. I don't know. Yeah.
They were so different, but so the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, man, both of those guys, I mean, Richard shit is bonkers. Bob shit is, to me, Bob's the definitive American traditional tattooer.
With the finesse.
Yeah. Like,
and Richard was the chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know that. Yeah. To the hilt. But man, you know, I met Richard through Lehigh. You know, when I started tattooing, I was really fortunate. Arizona was a trippy place. You know, I started in the early 90s. And I was probably working in a shop like 4 or 5 months, and this kid shows up, you know, long hair. He's got, you know, black flag stickers all over his shit. And it was Lehigh. And we were about the same age, and he had already been tattooing for a while. I think he started tattooing when he was 17, you know. And so we hit it off, and, you know, I worked with him for years, and he was getting tattooed by Richard. And that's when he went to some convention, met Richard, got tattooed by him, and I was just blown away. I mean, man, when Richard was really driving home that traditional weird Texas style shit, it was like, fuck, man, it was mind blowing, you know?
Oh, I mean, incredible.
A lot of what was going on in Texas in the 90s was just fucking, there was San Francisco and there was Texas. You know?
Mike Malone, Dave Lum, Chris Trevino, Richard Stell, those guys were just like,
yeah, it was nuts. I remember I went to that Houston, the anniversary of the first Houston convention. Did you go to that one?
Yeah, we were there.
Oh, it was an incredible show, you know. And
I was pretty young.
Yeah.
That was the first convention I ever went to.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones I went to. And it was nuts because our boss, Dale Orman, was there and he was at the first one, you know. And yeah, it was great. But you know, I went with Grimy because Grimy lived out here and he was tattooing. He was already kind of on his way, you know, and I was just starting out. But man, I remember just sitting up with him at night, like, you know, my wife and her sister were in our hotel room with us, and we probably kept him up till 2 or 3 in the morning because we were just so excited about what was going on in tattooing. And that was the first time I'd seen Trevino tattooed in person. And I love that early stuff.
And Grimy was doing like the traditional rockabilly type stuff at that time a little bit.
I mean, he was always like, but doing some next level art shit. Yeah, it was wild, man. But I mean, it was.
Let me see this. Oh, I think this is that on? No, is that on or no?
Oh no, it's not.
Just checking.
You want it?
No. I just thought that's what was making
a
noise.
That one.
We can leave this in the edit.
There it goes.
Yeah, but that convention, going to that convention, Richard took me there, and it was like I just started working for Richard like the year before, and it was like anybody you ever heard about.
Yeah,
you met,
was there.
You met, and you know, Richard's introducing me to people, and I'm just like, it was nuts.
Yeah,
nuts.
Yeah, it was cool, man. They were, and I wish conventions could. I don't think they ever can. I wish they could kind of go back to that though, because it was like everybody, you know, was there. Like, I mean, you were there and we didn't know each other at the time. And, you know, but
I had just met Scott Harrison right before that. I just met Ernie Gosnell right before that.
Oh yeah. Ernie.
So it was like Ernie and Scott and me and Richard, you know, I was the new kid with that group.
Yeah.
And, as soon as I started working for Richard, I met Chris Trevino and Sean Deegan, you know, just because that's.
Well, Richard's back was the first back piece that Trevino did, right?
The big bore.
Yeah. Fuck, man. And that thing still is fucking cool as fuck. It was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
So you met Richard from.
So I knew of him because of Tim. And then, you know, and then my wife's from Texas. So, you know, as soon as we went, you know, to visit her family, I'm like, I got to go by this guy's shop. And Tim Martin was there. And
was that,
I believe it was Tim Martin. Richard wasn't there.
Cause Tim Martin worked there after I did.
Okay.
So 96, I think Tim Martin started there.
Oh geez. I thought it was earlier than that. It might have not been, but somebody took me back there and, you know, like, oh, this back room with all the taxidermy.
So the back room, that shop, because we were up the street at a different location, and then we moved to that shop in late 94.
Okay.
And then 96 is when we all parted ways.
Okay.
And when we left, because it was me and a couple other guys that worked there, and the story of the beginning of the feud with Richard and me and the guys, because it was over the girlfriend that he had that she came in and took over the shop and we all left.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then Richard, the short version of the story is Richard and her broke up and then we were all best friends again.
Yeah.
But
was that his wife back then dead?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Yeah, when we left, Tim Martin and Chris Merchant and
What happened to that
Caleb,
guy, Chris Merchant?
he's still around.
Oh, that's cool.
He changed his name to Mark.
Crazy.
So Mark Merchant.
I'm always weirded out when dudes change their name like that.
Well, his
especially
name,
to like a normal name.
But his real name is Mark Chris Merchant, and he used to go by Chris, and now he goes by Mark. But he also I think he wittily decided that Mark Merchant was what he is because he's a salesman of marks, so he's a Mark Merchant. But he's killing it.
That's cool.
He does incredible artwork. He does incredible tattoos. He's still in Dallas. He's the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
That's cool.
And he's doing great.
Nice.
I talk to him not too much, but every couple of months.
I feel like I always had ties there, you know, like I knew Sandy, she moved out here, knew her well. Like, I don't know. I've always had ties with people in Texas and Dallas, and my wife's from there. So I just started, you know, going by there, and just gradually over the years, you know, knew Richard, and, you know, and then he started traveling like crazy and show up here. And at one point they were living in this shitty hotel down the way here. and he had been here like 3 months, and I'm going out of town, and, you know, and so I was like, you work here now, you know, like, I'll see you when I get back. And fucking came back, all his shit was gone. They fucking were like, oh, we're going to go out to Oklahoma and, you know, do this shit. So, but man, I had a lot of great times with Richard, man, like traveling with him. Richard was a fucking intellectual, you know, like if when you knew him, he was cool as fuck, man. And, you know, he'd say stupid, funny shit all the time. You know, Richard, you're an intellectual. Don't call me a fag. You know, like,
yeah.
I don't know. He was cool, man. I was grateful to get to know him. And dude, all these people, I'm blessed by, you know, when I started tattooing out here, I worked for this guy, Jim Watson. He was my first boss. That's how I ended up with this shop. You know, he's an old Peter tattoo guy. Crazy stories. He was real low key, like mellow guy. But I mean, he was part of that whole organization, had gnarly stories. Man, I'm surprised they haven't made like a mini series or like a Goodfellas style fucking Scorsese.
It should
version,
be coming, yeah.
You know, and
people don't believe this shit. Wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. And
it's like crazier than fiction.
Oh, dude. I mean, I remember just hearing stories, and a lot of it now is like what's real and what's just been exaggerated to the point of,
because I heard a bunch of stories from Ernie.
Yeah.
Over the years, I heard a bunch of stories from, you know,
dude, and just Ernie and that whole thing with him and Phil. It's like, that's mind-blowing, crazy. But
even the stuff that I know and have witnessed myself about Ernie is unbelievable to tell.
Oh, and he was
like, you tell the stories about Ernie and you're like, you're making all this up.
Oh, Ernie,
and the stuff that I've heard secondhand is even crazier.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Ernie was the first person I ever saw put a tattoo on someone. There used to be this shitty little punk rock record store called Fugitive Records, you know, in Mesa. And it was like, there was maybe 6 to 8 tattoo shops in Phoenix, Mesa, the whole, you know, thing. So I had this friend, this old punker friend of mine, still a guy showed up at my house a couple of years ago. He's, you know, fucking 54 and he still wears leather pants and he's just beat, you know, skateboards everywhere. Cool as fuck. Love the guy. But so him and Ernie were friends, and he'd have me draw shit and Ernie would tattoo it on him. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna go get tattooed. Come and meet Ernie, you know. So I'm all stoked to meet Ernie. And you know, this is the era in the 80s where like punk rock and the skinheads, and man, the skinheads would show up and just ruin shit, you know, and we all hated each other, and there'd be fights at these shows. But it was the 80s, and man, I was grateful that I got to witness. I got into punk rock when I was a kid. I was always like this little kid, you know, fucking at these fucking shows, and people were nice to us because we were kids,
Yeah.
you know. But so there was a lot of violence, you know. It's like 83, 84, I started going to punk shows, and it was crazy because you go to school and it was like you felt like you were a fucking alien, and none of these kids knew anything about any of this shit.
Yeah, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, they went to the pep rally and the football game, and we're like, dude, we were like at the wildest shit.
Yeah. You know, I go see DI or the Adolescents, you know, in the 80s, and there'd be fucking, you know, 700-800 kids, and just, you know, and everyone's just plying you with booze, and you know, you don't know what's going on. I worked at the shitty Mexican food restaurant when I was 16, and our manager was in a band, and he started taking us to shows, and man, this guy like pick us up. He's got a Pinto. There's fucking 5 of us in his Pinto, you know, and everyone's drinking, and he's fucking smoking a bowl and fucking slams on the brakes, and these rednecks fucking almost rear end us in a Pinto, which is known for exploding when they fucking get rear ended. Start chasing us, you know, like through red lights, and he just guns it through, and everyone's fucked, you know, out of their minds. Runs through this red light, and fucking the other cars starting like this, and the rednecks fucking get out. He drives to this dude's house, gets a fucking gun, you know, fucking, I hope we run into those motherfuckers, you know, puts it in the glove box, and then we go to the punk rock show, you know. And it was great, you know. I mean, my parents probably would have had me committed if they knew the shit that was going on.
One of the things about the punk rock and skateboarding scene that I feel is completely different than any other scene you're going to be in as a teenager,
especially then,
is when I was 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, those era, you know, all through high school, I had friends that were like 10 years old and friends that were like 40 years old.
Yeah.
And we all
which is how tattooing is.
And you just hung out. Like a guy that was like 30 would pick us up and drive us to the pool to go skate.
Yeah.
You know, and there'd be like a van with like kids in it. And it's like nobody, like every other kid I knew in my life at school, they all hung out with people that were exact same age.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like if you're 15, all your friends are 15. I was 15. My friends were fucking 12 and 40, you know? And it was like, we got this like a different look on life.
Yeah.
I was sitting there having like conversations under a skate ramp with Dan Wilkes when I was 16, 14, 15, 16 years old. You know, this man who'd already been a pro skater for years and already lived 20 lives. And I was just like, and the same as as soon as I got into tattooing, it's like you get into tattooing and you're mentored under somebody who's old and you work with people that are younger than you. And it's like this, it's a shared knowledge, shared community of knowledge, you know? And so it's like, it's just a different kind of thing. When you're on a football team, everybody on the team is like you were all born within the same 6 months.
Same age, you know?
Yeah.
And no one's mentally further along than anybody else. It's like some of the lessons you're just, man, I love that about tattooing. It's like, you know, I started working for those old guys. Like after I worked for Jim, I worked for this guy, Dale Orman, who owned Crawling Squid. And I mean, incredible artist. But it was nuts. Like he was an old biker guy, you know, he was in the Dirty Dozen at the time. And man, that guy, grimy, you know, hung out with them, tattooed him. Me and Tim worked there. Paul Stotler worked there. Like everybody, the Shag who builds the machines, he worked at the Squid. Like, I mean, everyone who tattooed at some point worked at that shop. And Dale was smart, you know, he'd bring us kids in, but he treated us great, you know, like fucking took us to the San Francisco convention, you know, like,
in 98.
And I think so. Yeah. I mean, that blew my fucking mind.
That was life-changing for me too. That year, 98 was like a huge.
I got tattooed by Mike Wilson. Him and Freddie were sharing a booth, you know, and man, but same thing, you know, Dale, he was probably 55 at the time, and man, he was in Vietnam. He'd been to prison, you
And his
know.
art was insane.
Yeah, and he was, you know, the Dirty Dozen ran Arizona at the time. They were and every shop I worked in, there was someone from the Dirty Dozen in some capacity involved, you know, like it was just the way I'm sure you guys had it that way in Texas too, you know, and that seems like, I mean, it might still exist and I'm sure it does in some capacity, but yeah, it was nuts. And again, like he's, you know, in his 50s, but he'd have these parties and you'd go to his house and, you know, it'd be like, hey, those are Dale's boys, leave them alone, you know, kind of shit. But you'd be there with these crusty motherfuckers, you know, that old biker guys that are like scary, you know, and you kind of learned early on, like, behave, don't get out of control because these dudes will fucking beat the fuck out of you, you know?
So, but you backing up, you met Richard and all that, and then how did let's keep going with this Bob Richard story. Like you met.
Oh, yeah. So Bob was just always my favorite tattooer. Like when I was a kid, going to those punk shows, when I first started tattooing, there was this kid, Sean Douglin. He fucking drove a hearse, you know, and everyone would just get in the back of his hearse before the show and drink. And I had just started wrecking kids, you know, getting into it. I knew this girl from high school, and she started tattooing, and she had worked for Jim Watson. And she kind of was like, you should get into this. You love to draw, you know. And she introduced me to Jim, and I had been, you know, just, she pretty much gave me equipment and started showing me like, this is how you tattoo. So I went there and he was like, what are you doing, you know, right now? I'm like, I'm a cook. And I mean, I got a kid. I had my son when I was like 20 years old, you know, so.
I mean, you got teenage grandkids now.
Yeah. But I think it was a blessing, man, because I had to get my life together, because I think I had friends that just partied themselves into oblivion, you know, and I couldn't do that. And I think between that and my wife, man, that shit probably saved my life, because a lot of those people aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so. But yeah, man, I was fortunate, you know, once I started making money and got into tattooing, and, you know, I was like, I got to get tattooed by Bob. You know, this kid had shown me that blue tattoo time when I started.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, fuck. And then I loved GBH, you know, and I knew Bob was tattooing all these people. And, you know, you see things like, you know, the skull spider.
Oh, yeah.
The guy from GBH had it on his neck. And I was like, I need that, you know, you just have to have that. And so, yeah, I was like, I got to get tattooed by this guy. And the first time I tried to get tattooed by him, like, I just showed up, you know, didn't happen. You know, you could have gave a fuck, you know. And then years later, I just went and got tattooed, and that was it, man. I was there getting tattooed, you know, 3-4 times a year by him, and just like loved his shit, always loved his shit. And then I was like, this is what I want to do, you know. And I think my tattooing changed. I think when I started, I was working with guys like Grimy and Tim, which they were so far ahead of me, and man, they could just draw anything. And it's like that, it wasn't my thing though, you know. I couldn't do what they were doing, you know.
Yeah, when I first started working for Richard, the biggest thing was just amazed at how he would just sketch with the pencil anything that you could think of, you know. And it was like the way I draw now, as opposed to the way I drew before, like when I was a kid and an artist, I would draw like very meticulously. Like you're looking at something like a car, you're going to draw it, or you're mapping something out. You're trying to. And then I started working for Richard, and the way I draw now is I just start scribbling a shape, building a shape together, and then put a thing. You know what I mean? And I learned that from Richard of like how just like you like just let shit come to life.
Yeah.
And so you trace a spot and you start scribbling, and then you're like, oh, that could be this, and then you kind of it's just
I still take a tracing for almost everything, and like, here's the space. Even, when I went through, I had cancer and I went through chemotherapy, and man, I started,
which is a whole nother topic.
Yeah. But I started bringing that iPad with me because it's like, fuck, you're going to be at the hospital for fucking 6 hours, So it's like, all right, cool. I can draw and I don't have to carry all this shit with me, So that was a big transition, but I still fucking take a tracing. If I do use that thing, I fucking take a picture of the tracing.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Well, for Richard, the number one thing was like the way something fits in the composition, and so you get the shape, and then you don't draw the item and try to make it fit the spot. You take the spot and make it fit
in there.
Yeah. And so that was, that's,
man,
I learned more about drawing from Richard than I did about tattooing from Richard.
Yeah.
I learned about tattooing from everybody that Richard introduced me to, from Chris Trevino to Ernie to...
Richard tattooed crazy. I was like, I've had tattoos that I've been like, man, nothing's ever hurt like that.
Oh my God. Well, then
his needle would be hanging out.
And I met Eric Mosky, and he taught me a lot about technical tattooing and stuff, but I learned everything I know about style and drawing and composition. I learned from Richard.
Yeah. That's awesome. Man. And it's such a bummer. Like, there's no documentation of Richard's stuff for the most part.
Because he was fucking a whirlwind that just
came and went.
Just dust flew up and then it just scattered to the wind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's too bad because he was insanely influential, and such a distinct, you still see it all the time and you're like, it's fucking Richard.
People ask me all the time to see, tattoos that I have, and like whether it's Chris Trevino tats from the 90s or Richard tats or whatever, or old Eric Mosky tats. And it's like a lot of that stuff you're only going to see on the people that have it.
Yeah.
It's not like there's not like books or paintings or, all this stuff that's out there about it.
It's 20, 30 years later.
And then
it doesn't look
then those
like
people die and then you never see it again.
Yeah.
So the
gone.
documentation, I kind of like that it's in the moment. You enjoy it in the moment. And if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah.
So, but
there's
just a different side of art.
Things,
yeah. It's a different side of art.
Yeah. And that's, unfortunately, it seems like the art aspect is going away in this, the digital, everything's cheap and quick, and it's kind of sad.
I've done a lot of complaining about that.
Yeah. Have you?
I have done a lot of complaining about the convenience and the quick and the easy and the, what I mean? It's like, I'm pretty anti all the digital wave of, I don't think it has nothing to do with tattooing.
Yeah, it's changing, the constant, but probably 100 years from now, there's going to be some kid somewhere who's fucking blowing minds, who's just obsessed, and just producing like a motherfucker. Because I don't think that digital technology can really replace what we do,
Well,
and if it does, it'll be
a new
thing.
Same. It'll be a new thing. There'll still be this. Which if old school tattooing and traditional tattooing go back to the underground, then I'm happy with that too.
Yeah.
That's where it was when I started.
Yeah.
And if that's where it goes back to, then I'm happy.
Yeah, it's
because it was fucking cool.
It was cool, and it was like you couldn't just do it either. Like you had to fucking go through channels. You couldn't get machines. You couldn't get equipment. Now it's like anyone can go on Amazon and get whatever the fuck they
Everybody
want,
can get a
you know?
dildo and just go to town.
Yeah, yeah, and the learning curve's not even, you know, I don't know. Maybe it still is the same to some extent, but it seemed like back when, man, you had to figure shit out a lot, you know, like even machines. I remember when I finally got a machine that was good and worked, I was like, what the fuck?
You still had to learn how to do it.
Yeah. And now
It wasn't just plug and play.
Yeah.
Well, when you said earlier how like Bob, you know, you love Bob tattooer, you know, and how you've learned about Bob Roberts in general, like a lot of people don't understand how all these people from around the world all learned about these same things because those Tattoo Time books or punk rock show flyers or, you know, a tattoo on a guy's neck that you heard that somebody did. You know what I mean? It's like there wasn't like nowadays somebody can just put it on the internet and the whole world knows about it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, you had to be in it to even know who any of these people were on about any level, you know. I remember working at a shop and this band Murphy's Law came in, you know, and they're getting tattooed, and there was all these East Coast tattooers, you know. These guys had work from, you know, Philip Liu and from Jonathan Shaw's place, but this guy had a Tony Polito tattoo on his fucking shin, a snake and a dagger, and I mean, it was full color. It was this big. Guy was like, it took him 45 minutes, you know.
And you're like, no way.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck, you know? And then I was like, knew who Tony Polito was, you know, and there was those guys back then that just killed it. But yeah, there's no digital media. It wasn't mainstream. It was like, it was underground.
Yeah. The music scene of tattooing, you know, I greatly benefited from that.
Oh, me too.
And I got to tattoo a couple guys in some bands, and then they went on tour and toured with another band. And then that band was like, oh, we're in Dallas.
Yeah.
That guy that tattooed so-and-so is at Elm Street. And so then a band would come in and be like, and then you kind of, that's how the word spread.
Yeah, totally.
And it was just like, I tattooed band people.
Yeah.
And I tattooed a lot of bands, and then they went on tour with other bands, and then I was tattooing more and more bands. And then all the fans of the bands were like, oh, this guy did that guy's tattoo. And it's just like, next thing you know, like 10 years of my career is like pretty much built up by just tattooing musicians.
Through the music. And what same thing
mostly
here.
punk rock.
We had the Nile Theater down here, and the kid who worked the door, I tattooed the shit out of him. And he'd fucking sit at the door with no shirt on, you know, and it was like, I got probably 90% of my business through that kid, you know.
That's the best.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then you had these bands coming through, and you get to meet all these crazy motherfuckers, you know, like it was cool, man. And that's kind of gone now too, because.
But then that guy in that band would be like, oh, we're from like whatever city. And the guy that tattoos me in this city, you should come work at his shop. And like the one thing I learned from Richard, well, not the one thing, but one of the many things I learned from Richard is like, when you get an invitation or you get an opportunity, fucking take it.
Yeah.
Like if somebody says, hey, come work at my shop, go.
Yeah.
Go work there, go learn, go experience, go spread. You know what I mean? And that's how I became a traveling tattooer. You know, and that's what I tell people now. It's like, if you get an opportunity, take it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, good or bad, you're going to find out something.
I wish I'd have done a little more, you know. Like sometimes I just fucking get nervous and be like, I don't want to do that, you know. But in hindsight, fuck. And I think now I want to do more than I ever have, you know, because you realize, like, man, this ain't forever, you know.
Well, there's some shop owners that are real. They want their employees to stay.
Yeah.
You can only go to this many conventions, or you don't want to travel, or you need to work. You need to be here when they walk in. Richard had that traveling mindset, so he didn't nail his people down like that. Anybody that worked for Richard was encouraged to take the opportunities. And when you work for someone like Richard, you get opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, and so people that work for me, I'm like,
yeah, go out,
go.
Do shit. It's better for everyone.
It's going to be good for everybody. And then, but in the same sense, like when you go, I'm going to get somebody else from somewhere else to come here.
Yeah.
Like just boom, 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 constant influx.
That's what I tell the guys who work for me. I'm like, hey, if you're leaving and gonna be gone a while, see if you can get someone, to fill your spot. And yeah, it's cool. And sometimes you're like, yeah, I don't know about that dude, but most of the time people are cool, for the most part.
I mean, we've kind of like, our customers in Elm Street, they love that there's always new people coming to guests.
Yeah.
Like they want to keep track of who's coming to town. Oh, I get to get a tattoo from this guy from Oregon now. I get a tattoo from this guy from Florida now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Tattooing's still cool. It's always going to be cool. It's great. The cat's out of the bag, like it's definitely different, but I love it, man. And there's just more.
Oh, the cat's out of the bag and it's pissing on every wall it can get near. It's fucking.
Yeah. But I mean, man, I'm great. And it's fucking bizarre now that we're like getting to be that older generation of tattooers too. It's like, and that's one thing I remember Bob, when I, first started getting tattooed by Bob, he'd just show up here on a weekend, he'd come in the shop, be like, what are you guys up to? And he'd stay here for the weekend, hang out. And again, it's cool because, I was maybe like my late 20s, early 30s, and Bob was in his 50s. And I love that about tattooing. Like, you fucking have that interaction with people that are way older and way wiser and been through a lot more than you. And it's just good life lessons, you have that in, I started doing jujitsu years ago. You kind of have that there. It's like a mixture of people. I mean, work in life, you'll have that too. But I feel like tattooing, it's like a different kind of camaraderie too, where it's not weird that you're hanging out with a fucking 60-year-old dude when you're 25.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Bob was a major influence on like so many people and an inspiration to so many people. And the reason is because he created so much. Like his paintings, he created so many paintings. He did so much for a lot of people. And you are also the same. I mean, you create so much artwork. You create so much flash. You do so many paintings. You do so many big scale tattoos. It's inspirational. And everybody, I mean, I'm going to toot your horn a little bit, but like everybody is like Aaron fucking Coleman, dude. He's like, you are the old school guy that's doing but the amount of stuff that you produce is incredible.
I've slowed down a lot,
but the amount of art you have created is more than most people, and it's really inspirational. And you brought up the whole cancer thing. Like, you're lucky to be here right now.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it's a bonus.
But you, during this shit you went through, how deep you want to get into it, but you were on death's door in the hospital for a long time. You went through bone marrow transplant, which is like very low success rate, very high probability.
They've gotten really, it's insane now what they can do for leukemia. Like when I first got diagnosed and heard that, I was just like,
this is
fuck,
it.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Like,
but
I started getting my shit in order.
But most people in the world had no clue that you were going through that.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell anyone because it was so uncertain,
But you didn't stop creating art. Like every couple of days you'd post. Like, I started hearing that you were in the hospital after you'd already been in the hospital for a while. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? But then it's like, then you post a new painting or a new drawing. I was like, is this fucker dying or is he fucking, like you stayed busy and you're inspirational, dude. You put a book out that goes through your whole period of being in the hospital, and you were doing art every day and you were writing journals and you put it all into a book. And this book is like, it's uplifting and heartbreaking at the same time. It's like so intense. people that know you that maybe not know the whole story, this book will like just open up. Like what
Thanks.
I mean, and for you to go back and post and share this experience you went through it's incredible how inspirational it is, because most people in the moment of despair are not going to keep that positive mental drive and keep creating art. You know what I mean? Like what? Like why am I going to do another painting if this is the end or whatever? But you didn't. It wasn't the end for you. What in the Duck podcast is proud to be sponsored by Legacy Ink, the finest in tattoo pigments. I've been using this ink exclusively for over 20 years myself. It has been recently rebranded and marketed, but it has been the same recipe for decades. Real, hand-mixed tattoo pigments that heal great and last. People always comment on the yellow that I use and the yellow tattooed on me, my favorite, the Mayan yellow. I have seen countless 20-plus-year-old tattoos with the colors still vivid. Don't duck around with all these newfangled companies with their watered-down baloney. Get the tried, true, and tested good shit. You can find them on Instagram at Legacy Pigments or email Ashley today to place an order at legacyartsupplies@gmail.com. Tell them Oliver sent you and receive a special discount. Don't just do tattoos. Be part of a legacy.
Yeah. No.
Incredible, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, that whole thing, I just got to a point after about a month of like getting poisoned and, going through all that shit. Like I was like, I gotta do something. So it just became a job. Like I just get up, have a little coffee and start painting. And man, that kept me sane and gave me purpose. And it helped me, man, I'm grateful for the people that work here. They kept the place fucking going. And, I was able to pay the bills and everything. But man, there was times that I was like, I don't know how we're going to get through this next couple months, Man, I'm so grateful for my wife. My wife is the shit. She's the best. Like, I'd be dead if it wasn't for her because I would have never had insurance. I would have never,
Yeah, the tattooer's got nothing.
Yeah, and thank God, she like was just right from the get-go, like, you're gonna get through this, and then, so the way it all went down, we have a house in Mexico I bought, 12 years ago. And one of the best things I ever did in my life, like I think mentally it fucking helped me so much.
Well, half the times I come through town and they're like, oh, he's in Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, we went crazy with it for a while, like every 2 weeks, but man, that beach is just good for your brain. So, I bought this place during the housing crisis. It was like 50 grand, and I mean, that's what a car costs now,
Yeah.
So, I'd been doing jujitsu for a while and, something just started changing physically. Like, man, every week I'm like bruised. I fucking, I got a black eye like all the time, and so my coach one day was just like, hey, you need to go to the doctor, man. Like go. So there's a doctor who went there as well. He's like, go see Dr. Neal. So I go see this guy. He draws my blood. I don't think nothing of it. I'm like, I'm getting old. I'm fucking, in my 50s. That's all it is. So he's like, he calls me up and he's like, hey, you need to come in here. I got to talk to you. I'm like, all right. So I go in. He's like, hey, your numbers came back weird. I want to draw your blood again. And so he drew my blood again. And, my wife's like, hey, we have insurance. Go see the primary care doctor. So I go see him. He's like, you're healthy. Cause I was, man. I was in better health, fucking Bale in Albuquerque, who unfortunately passed away when I was in the hospital, which fucking blew my mind. I was doing his show one year and he's in the booth when I get there, and I'm kind of beat, and I just didn't take care of myself. He's eating an apple, and I like got coffee and fucking donuts or something, You want one of these? He's like, fuck no. It's like, I want to fuck forever, eh? It's like, I take care of myself. And, and for some reason that struck a chord with me. And, I started exercising all through my 40s and just taking care of myself, man. I was in good fucking physical shape. I'd always be telling Jesus, I'm gonna outlive you, motherfucker. You're 20 years younger than me, but I'm gonna be at your funeral, like an asshole. But yeah, man. So they called me. They're like, this blood test was. So I see my primary care physician. I go to Mexico with my wife. It's my 51st birthday. And we're sitting on the beach talking to some of our neighbors, and I get this call. And he's like, what are you doing? It's my doctor. I'm like, we're sitting on the beach. He's like, I need you to go and pack your shit up and go to the emergency room right now. I'm like, can I wait till tomorrow? He's like, no. He's like, I need you to pack your shit up, go and check yourself into the emergency room. So pack our shit up. We get in about 11 o'clock at night, and the whole drive, I'm like, what the fuck? Because that doctor I had seen initially,
he didn't tell you a whole lot of information.
He didn't tell me anything, but he gave me a referral, and it was to a cancer center. So I'm fucking tripping. But my primary care doctor was like, you're healthy, you're good, So I go to the emergency room, and they put me in this room, and they give you a remote control and shut the curtain, So we turn on the TV, and that fucking movie, The Bucket List, with Morgan Freeman and is on the fucking TV. So I'm like, what the fuck, So they take you in a room, and they give you a bone marrow biopsy. And the first one, they're nice. They give you fentanyl, and they give you mild anesthesia. And, they pretty much take like a core sample in your hip of your bone. They drill in there and suck it out. I think I've had like 7 or 8 of those now.
Ugh.
And they're fucking half the time they're like, you want like something to take the edge off? And but then we got to wait 30 minutes for it to kick in. They don't give you shit. They just do it, They numb it, It's not terrible. Getting tattooed fucking hurts more.
Yeah. But that's how I gauge everything. They're like, it's not as bad as getting tattooed.
Yeah. Getting tattooed's pretty rough.
If you got a bodysuit, you've been through some shit.
Yeah.
Bro.
You got your torso done.
You've been through some shit.
It hurts. But yeah, man. And that was it. A week later, they're like, we're starting chemo. The doctor called me. He's like, first they thought it was something called myelodysplastic syndrome. And like, nah, it's leukemia. Like, so.
But you don't know where this derives from. It
was genetic.
Yeah.
Like, somewhere along the line, I got some bad genes in me, and caught up. Like, I have an uncle who had it. My grandma, she was 92. She had some kind of cancer, but she was just like, I ain't doing that shit,
Yeah.
And I don't blame her one bit. But yeah, so I go in the hospital, and they put this catheter in your arm. They pretty much take a tube and they stick it in your vein, and it goes out to above your heart, and that's what they pump all the chemo in, so it just dumps in your heart.
Literal poison.
And when I'm laying there getting that put in, one of the pick line team guys was like, you know what, man? This cancer is curable. And that was the first time that I really was like, oh shit, like I might get through this, you know? And from that point on, I was like, I'm going to beat this shit. My wife, she got this thing called the FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, and they gave her 100 days off work. And man, she came to the hospital during chemo. I mean, she slept at the hospital with me. The first round of chemo, I was in there for 32 days.
And it basically just almost killed you.
Yeah. They bring you to the verge of death. And man, the first round was fucking brutal. They give you this one chemo that's cardiotoxic, and they're like, you can only have this once in your life. And man, I went into this thing called AFib. I thought I was having a heart attack, you know, like your heart gets off kilter, and you know, nurses are rushing in, they're putting oxygen on you, and I'm like, am I gonna die? You know, and they're like, no, you're gonna be okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
There was definitely like 4 or 5 times where I was like, is this it? Am I gonna fucking die? You know, and you know, of course they're like, nah, you're okay. You know,
I mean, they've done this before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, some of those nurses, like some of the horror stories, like motherfuckers throwing bedpans at them, punching them. Like I was the opposite, man. I was like, I'm gonna be as nice as I can to you because y'all are keeping me alive.
Yeah.
You know, like fuck that shit. But I had him tell me like, we started chemo on this guy, and 3 hours later we come in the room and he pulled that fucking PICC line out, and it's just dumping out on the floor and split, you know. And
I mean, that's a fucking tough thing to face.
Oh, it's wild. And you can't leave the floor for the 32 days. And then I fucking got pneumonia.
Well, the number one place to get sick.
Yeah.
It's in the hospital, right?
Oh man.
Because all the sick people are there.
Yeah.
Fucking.
There was one poor old guy that I talked to every once in a while. And, you know, I see this guy, he's got like one dead white eye, you know, and I was like, I got to talk to this guy, you know, like, but he didn't make it, you know?
Yeah.
You'd see him every day, and then you roll by his room one day and he's gone. And I had heard one of the nurses talking with another one saying that someone on the floor had COVID, and I think it was that poor guy, you know? But you're so fucked, like anything. I got that pneumonia, and they sent this doctor. They're like, we don't know what this fucking pneumonia you have is, you know, like they're like, it's not viral. It's not bacterial. I had this lady, she's like, 25 years I've been here. I've never seen this. Just happened. This doctor had just started there, a bronchologist from St. Joe's. He's like, I've seen this before. Dr. Sue, he saved my life too. He's like, I've seen this before, but ultimately this is your call. I was just finishing up my first round of chemo. They're like, the standard treatment for this is 6 months of steroids. And you're not going to make it 6 months on steroids doing chemo.
Oh, geez.
So he's like, it's not up to us. You have to give me the okay. And he's like, but I've treated this once before. He's like, they went in my lungs. They knock you out. They go in your lungs with a camera and a computer, and they found this fucking nodule in there.
Fucking insane.
And he's like, I had a different doctor the first time. The first guy was like, I'm going to put you on steroids for the 6 months. And I'm like, I don't think I want to do that, you know? So this other doctor's like, I want to go in there with the camera, and I want to inject that nodule with a high dose of steroids.
Just instead of your whole body, just kill that one.
Yeah, kill that one thing. So this is my first round of chemo, and man, it was a mess. So I've been on that floor for 32 days. You can't leave the floor. All you can do is walk the halls. I had one nurse say, hey, at least you're not in prison. I said, fuck that. If I was in prison, I could at least be healthy and feeling good. You know, you guys are fucking poisoning me. So this doctor goes in there, he injects it, and then they put me on oral steroids afterwards, to where, man, it was like being on methamphetamine. Like I just
fucking hyper,
amped
up.
You're
just can't leave the floor.
Geeked out. You can't leave the floor. Like I would just pace my fucking room, you know, and then it did weird shit, like your hands just start cramping, and you know. But he got me through it, man. I'd be dead if it wasn't for that doctor. And he's like, hey, we're gonna write some papers on this, you know. And so
So at the end of that chemo process, they assess that they're gonna do a bone marrow transplant.
So that was basically the plan. man, the survival rates have gotten
better,
way better for leukemia, lymphoma. It's crazy. I mean, I was so unaware of all that stuff, and now it's like, man, I even have a customer who's had lymphoma, ALL, I believe it is, for like years, and he takes a pill for it, and they're like, eventually it's gonna kill you, but for now, and I think he's had it like 10 years, and he gets tattooed on the regular.
So the bone marrow transplant is it a pretty heavy, extensive procedure, or is it?
Yeah. So, I had to do several rounds of chemo, and then thank God, after that 32 days, just getting out of the hospital and being able to go home and sleep in my bed was awesome. And then not eat that fucking hospital food, man, because that shit is, I don't even know how they feed people that shit.
When I had a heart attack, I'm in the hospital, and the food
it's the
was
worst.
like whatever, and Audra was like, I'm gonna bring him food in.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can't bring outside food in. And Audra was like, he's not eating this.
Yeah.
Like he just had a heart attack, and you're trying to give him
pizza,
fucking like heart attack food, right? And so she threw a fit, and then they made the nutritionist come in and talk with Audra. And after a few minutes of talking to Audra, she was just like, bring whatever food you want in here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And they're like, you
Good
can't
on
do it.
you.
And she's like, I'm doing it. Went to the grocery store, bought food, made food, brought it to me. I was only in hospital a few days, but Audra's like, you're not eating this.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, well, since you had a heart attack, you can only order from this section because it's like the cardiac menu. And it's like burger and fries.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not eating a burger and fries. You're not eating a fucking burger and fries.
Yeah, I don't know how they serve people that shit, man. It blows me away, Like I had been eating clean for years, like, and then I go in there and it's like, what the fuck? But they're like, you have to put on weight.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm 6 foot tall, and man, at one point I got down
you're
to
looking back,
pounds.
You're getting your body weight back a little bit.
It's coming back, and I'm trying to take care of myself. Like I passed the year mark in March, and they said at the 2-year mark, the chances of it coming back drop down to like 15%. So I'm trying to exercise. I'm trying to eat good. I'm trying to fucking just keep myself good till, I think it's always going to be in the back of my mind.
I mean, the fact that you're back tattooing is fucking cool, man.
That was huge.
Fucking cool.
And my wife was the first person who got tattooed.
Badass.
Like,
well, if anybody gets this book and looks through this book, you're going to see all these paintings and drawings that you did in the hospital. That at the time you were posting on Instagram, and nobody in the world knew that you were going through this shit, and you're still like creating all this, So
I felt like I had to do something.
So I had this, it was secret. You weren't telling people. So I was like, what is going on? And I came here and worked, and I kind of got a little bit of a tidbit of what's happening. And I heard you had leukemia, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I would go home and I would see some posts from you, and then I would call Kate. I was like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Is he okay now? And she's like, well, he's in the hospital, but and I was like, he's doing all this shit still? And I was like, fucking, this is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's what kept you
sane,
happy, right? Or something that you're still doing what you do.
Well, it pretty much started because, I was getting through that first round, and somebody just out of the blue was like, hey, I want to buy a painting, and that was it.
But they didn't know you're in the hospital.
No, didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And like everything was so uncertain. And man, you just get to this point where it's like, you tell 4 or 5 people, and then people start hearing, and you're just like, fuck, I don't want to spend my entire day just telling people like,
well, I came home from working here, and people were like, hey, how's Aaron? And I was like, what do I say? What do I say? I was like, he wasn't at the shop when I was there, which is not uncommon. Because I would come here, I would text you, hey, I'm coming to town. You're like, cool, come to the shop. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then I get here and they're like, he's in Mexico. I was like, well, fuck, I didn't know if he was here or not.
Oh man.
So now you come here and you're like, oh, he's not here. It wasn't like a big deal that you weren't here. You know, you could be anywhere, but
I just went snorkeling for the first time.
oh shit.
Like a month ago. And yeah, it felt so good just to be on the fucking beach. But yeah, they're like, don't go in the sun, which it's like, man, I would go there and just cook on the fucking beach, and swim and yeah.
Night swim now.
Yeah, that's it. We go at sunset and you get in a little bit of snorkeling and whatever though. I'm grateful I'm breathing, so
Fucking cool. And just getting back to work has got to be like the number. I mean, for me, that would be the number one thing. I said, I gotta.
It just felt great to come in and I was blown away by, I've always kept pretty busy. I think I gave back 2 or 3 deposits. My wife, after a couple months, went through, called everyone on my schedule, and 90% of them were like,
I'll wait.
Yeah, I'll wait. He's gonna be fine. And yeah, I think I gave back 3 deposits and that was it.
That's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, the humanity with people like has definitely changed me. Like I definitely have a different perspective. I don't even know in all ways because I think I'm still processing a lot of this shit. But man, people have been so great. Like I'm blown away sometimes by some of the stuff people tell me. Like, I'm like, fuck, I didn't even think you really gave a shit about me. It's awesome, man. It's
well, you've created.
Beautiful.
I mean, you've not created, or maybe you've perpetuated or continued, what we were brought up in the tattoo community, and this shop has become one of the shops, and you got great artists here, you got great people here, you got a great atmosphere here. It's
thanks.
It's the continuing blossoming of what we love about tattooing. And there's a few shops, and not more than a few, but there's a bunch of shops around that are still doing what we were brought up in.
Yeah. And I think that that's awesome. And I think that, shops like this, shops like yours, like, look at Bob's, Bob's been gone for a while and that place is killing it, you know, and people want to work there, there's a spirit to it. And man, I
and
hope
classic tattoo is like,
it still has
beautiful.
that vibe,
it's like Eric is still there. It's so cool.
Man, I never met him. It's crazy too, because I would have people come from California to get tattooed. Like he was always around and his work was always around. But yeah, I didn't know Eric. I wish I would have, but hey man, I'm grateful for the people that I have. I've been so fortunate to have interactions and, and get to know the people that I looked up to that were my heroes in this business for sure. It's amazing, man. And the people that are in it and doing what we're doing it's always going to be that way, I think,
And we were talking earlier, we're going back to Albuquerque in a couple of weeks for the show. And it's the first it's the first show since Bale's been gone. But Bale is another one of those people who created a huge
thing.
I mean, his shop and the artists he's cultivated there and the show that he's built is like real tattooing. And it's like all of tattooing, every kind of tattooing, but it's like, he was very,
did you see those paintings he was doing before? They're fucking incredible, man. And he was the most low key, humble dude. I love all those Albuquerque guys who I met because of RK Sloan,
it's fucking cool. I stopped through Albuquerque every time I drive through. And last time I stopped, there was a guy who had a whole chest that Bale had started.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was going to finish it. And he was just like, man, it's like, it's kind of intense.
Yeah.
But how good the Bale tattoo was.
Oh.
It's like, man, you better better do it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was incredible. And he loved all kinds of tattooing.
And how cool that they actually because of the way he was, and they had city council meetings, they actually interred his body at the shop. Is fucking insane.
I've seen it.
You know,
I've seen it.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It's amazing. Like, I was like, that. I think all of us want that on some level. You know, like I've told him, like, you know, put a machine in my hand and just turn it on when you shut down at night or something. You know, but. Yeah, the fact that he actually got that done is amazing, you know, and is awesome.
That tattoo shop is
bonkers,
insane. It's insane. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't either.
And you try to explain to people, and you're like, dude, come on.
Yeah, I remember when they got the building, little Alex took us over there and brought us in there. I was like, what are you going to do here? Yeah. Like,
it's like a mall.
How are you going to fill this place? Yeah. I mean, it's got to be 4,000 or 5,000 square feet.
Oh, I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's way more than that.
Crazy.
I think it's like 15.
And then every time I go back, I'd be like, how the fuck are you guys filling this place up like this so quick? You know, it does. Even though it's more of a modern shop, it still has that vibe that these shops like ours have, you know, which, yeah, it's those guys cultivated something.
But he did a really good job getting a lot of people in on his dream.
Yeah.
And they are continuing it.
Yeah. They ran it like an organization, you know, like, yeah, man, he was an amazing person, you know. I'm so fortunate to know those guys. You know, the first time I went out and tattooed there, you know, I showed up at the shop. And they're like, oh, we made you 3 appointments today. You got bail, sneeze, and stroll. I was like, what? And yeah, it was just, I mean, it's cool. Like, I feel like Dallas and Phoenix kind of have similarities, and same thing with New Mexico, you know. It's like, there's a lot of Chicano, you know, influence, all those cities. Like, I feel like it's comfortable, like it's West Coast comfortable to an extent, you know.
It's a crazy place.
Yeah, it is. That show is incredible, man. What he does is awesome, you know.
Yeah, I think it's one of those shows that in the city, most of the tattooers in that city embrace the show. It's not like it doesn't seem like a bunch of rivalry or whatever. I mean, I love Brian Everett's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy, and he's done a lot of incredible things with tattooing in Albuquerque. And, you know, it's like one of those, like you were talking about how you worked here and everybody else worked there. Like, everybody worked for Brian Everett at one point, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. The Route 66 crew, you know. Yeah. I love all those guys, man. Like, great friendships. And yeah, it was all because of Rick, you know. So I was fortunate to know him. He wasn't like a super sociable, you know. He was definitely more introverted, but yeah, man, I've met so many great people through him. Dano, Leo, you know, Bale, Alex, all those kids. Went was actually the first guy that I met out there. Like, I was at Tattoo City because, you know, I was fortunate that I came up with Tim and Brett, and, you know, those guys all moved to the Bay, and I had a family, you know. I was like, fuck, I want to go, you know, I want to be part of that shit. But, you know, I had kids, and man, I think that panned out for me better in the long run, that I did stay here and, you know, was able to have my own shop here, which is all just through the people that I work for, you know. So.
Well, you've obviously influenced people who work here too to also create art all the time. You know, I love it when I go to a tattoo shop and, you know, people when they're not tattooing, they pull out the flash and start working on it. And every time I'm here, paintings are getting done in the midst of the daytime, you know.
I like that too. And do you feel like manually created art is fallen by the wayside and to an extent?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think at some point that the digitally created art has become so prevalent that people are going to be like, man, well, what about this real painting?
Yeah.
Like, because the idea that you're just going to put a digital photocopy in a frame.
It doesn't have the impact.
You're not going to put it under archival glass. You're not going to mat it.
Yeah.
You're not going to spend $1,000 on the frame for something that's just a photocopy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's great if you want to email it to Sticker Mule and make a bunch of stickers and give them out for free.
Sure.
But if you want to
but it's throwaway.
You want to have this painting on the wall. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And it has such a bigger impact. I saw somebody made a post the other day that said, that your brain reacts to an original.
Oh, 100%.
So much different than even a good quality print.
Dude, let me tell you, dude. I know you know who Dave Mann is.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I love Dave Mann.
Oh, yeah.
Paintings. All the Easy Rider covers. You look at all the centerfolds, for years and years and years. I have an original.
Yeah.
It is fucking mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You hold it and you're just like.
Yeah, and
it's crazy, dude. You just look at it and you I looked at it with the magnifying glass. It's insanity.
And I feel like that's how you figure out how to do that stuff.
Well, what I figured out
making art.
What I figured out when I looked at this Dave Mann original under a magnifying glass is that I could never do this.
Yeah.
It's so insane.
Yeah.
You're like, how did he do this? It's literally you see the print, you see the magazine, you're like, oh, this guy's a good painter, this guy's a whatever. But then you look at the original and you're just like, this is incredible.
Yeah. One of my oldest friends, this guy Dave Lehman, I'll show you some of his paintings. You've seen stuff he's done. He was huge in the 90s, like Pennywise.
Yeah.
Our record covers. He's done tons of commercial stuff, hundreds and hundreds of skateboards. But I talked to him the other day, and he was homeless for a while.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, AI is killing me. He's like, nobody wants to hire a graphic designer anymore because they can just pump that shit into AI and not pay for it. And
you can pay $19 a month and make anything you want in the world. I tried it. I did the ChatGPT thing, and you can literally take a photo and say, I took a photo of our box truck. That we're driving right now. I just took a photo of it at the gas station, and I said, make this a 60s cartoon style hot rod cartoon. And bam.
Wow.
Looks like Rat Fink driving the fucking peeling out smoke, big tires. From
wow. Crazy.
In 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then if there's anything you don't like about it, be like, change the tire, change this, make that. And you can make 20 versions of it in less than 20 minutes.
Wow. See,
it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, I feel like we're from that generation where I don't know how to do that shit. I have a phone.
I did it on my phone.
Yeah, wow.
I just learned how to do it a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, this is incredible, but also terrible and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
One of the guys that worked for me was making funny things. You take a picture of you and say, hey, make them doing this, and it's making funny. It's like we used to do in the back room of the shop with a photocopier where you cut people's heads off and put a big dick in their mouth or whatever.
Yeah.
But now you can just do it on AI, but you can't put a dick in their mouth because AI won't do pornographic shit. Yeah. Unless you have some, maybe you can get on the dark web and do it. I don't know. But it's nuts.
Yeah.
And it can be quick, funny, cool, whatever, but you're not gonna put it in a frame.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be
gonna be art.
Is it gonna be in a museum?
Fuck no.
I mean, is it?
You hope not,
Well, at what point do you say, oh, this artist created this by typing a prompt in, and now it's in a museum?
Well, I've even had customers come in and be like, oh, I want something like this.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, where'd you get this?
AI made it.
Yeah.
Because now you can say, list all the things you want, and it'll just make the design, and they bring it in, and you're like, well, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Because you can make it whatever style.
Well, that's the thing with this day and age. I'm sure you guys have Waymos, right, in Texas?
We don't have them in Dallas, but they have them in Austin.
Yeah. It blows my, what the fuck? There's cars driving around with no people in them.
First one I ever saw was in this parking lot.
Oh, was? Yeah.
I was waiting here. Last time I was working here, and it pulled in the driveway, and Kate still got out of it. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
She's
and
like, I love
nobody
it.
in it. Yeah. And you don't have to talk to some fucking kook. There's good and bad. Like my wife puts my grandson in him because she's like, I don't want him interacting with the fucking Uber driver, you know? Who knows
That's
what that guy's doing?
insane. It's insane. I don't think I want to get in one.
Yeah, it's weird. You should.
I think I'd rather complain about the kooky guy that drove me over here.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy that drove me over here. What a weirdo.
Well, people don't interact anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a whole different conversation. Like the future's going to be fucking bonkers, man. And if there's not going to be jobs for anyone, but I don't think tattooing is, if it does get to the point where a computer or a robot can do it, it's going to be so far down the line. And I think it's going to be so soulless and too perfect. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we're really
Some people
replaceable.
will want it,
They'll
but
still want the
but
experience too.
there's
But look at those assholes going under anesthesia and getting fucking
I've
bodysuits.
complained about that too.
Yeah.
And this one guy who's he's a football player for Dallas. He went under anesthesia and got 4 tattooers or 5 tattooers to tattoo him for 10 hours straight. So he got like 50 hours of tattooing in like one sitting. Totally
How
asleep.
is
And
the
then-
owner of the Cowboys not like, fuck you?
And
You're
then-
jeopardizing your
and
health,
then-
you know?
Like he literally, I've said this before, but he got Mickey Mouse bullshit tattooed on him.
Yeah.
Like one of the tats was a fucking Mickey Mouse. Like you're a fucking multi-millionaire dude paying
and there's amazing
paying
stuff going on.
$100,000 to go to sleep and wake up with a Mickey Mouse.
But he's not into tattooing, you know? He's not into art, you know?
Oh my God.
Something's...
And the tattooers that are a part of it are insane. And at that, I'm going to take a pee break. All right, we're back from pee break. I saw the sticker in the bathroom of the Coleman Robert Stealth thing, which was super cool. So just to remind that. But yeah, these guys going under anesthesia, paying all this thousands and thousands of dollars. And I'm like, how much you going to pay to just be a pussy?
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. But yeah, you were saying it. A guy died.
Yeah, so that guy died. And I feel like since that happened, I have not seen that shit. Like, I mean, it's probably still going on. But when are they going to make it illegal?
But we know, I don't think they should make it illegal. I think people should have the choice.
Yeah, I guess it's elective.
If you want to die getting a tattoo, then great. Not great, but I don't want to wish death on people.
Yeah, no.
But it kind of reminds me of like the movie Old School when Will Ferrell's like going to the funeral to pick up chicks. And he's like, her boyfriend died hang gliding. What an idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like fucking, he making fun of the guy hang gliding and dying or whatever. But,
yeah. Yeah, but just get it done. You know, like fuck putting your health in jeopardy to not experience some pain, you know.
Well, you know that
you're going to live through.
Anesthesia is dangerous.
Yeah,
and you should only do it
if
in
you
a
have
life-saving procedure.
Yeah.
Like you might die, so you need to have this procedure to maybe just try to stay alive. It's worth the risk. But tattoos hurt.
I've gone under anesthesia like 7 or 8 times,
which is too many.
2 years,
which is too many,
and that's always a concern with me. That's always one of the first things I ask them. You know, like,
but
do I have to?
Yeah, but you were doing life-saving shit.
Yeah, I had no choice.
Should have ran in there and tattooed you real quick while you were under. Yeah. Hey, doctor, give me a minute here.
Just fill it. I don't have too much room left. You know, they might be able to do it under one anesthesia session.
But I mean, tattoos hurt.
Yeah, it's part of it.
And they're not supposed to not hurt.
Yeah. I mean, I don't give a fuck if someone's like, "Hey, I'm gonna use numbing cream." I'm like, "Cool, go ahead." You know, like I don't give a fuck. And sometimes I prefer it because it's like, hey man, if you're getting tattooed for 5 or 6 hours, and I'm gonna fucking get you to sit an hour or 2 more. Cool, you know. But.
Yeah, I think using it at the end helps people sit a little longer. My personal grievance with the numbing cream, real quick, is people get so used to that they want to use it every time, and it only lasts about an hour, so they only get about an hour and a half of tattooing, and then they want to like quit and come back later and use more numbing cream instead of like no, let's push as far as you can make it. You know, There's
Yeah.
no there if you don't want if you don't want it to hurt, just don't get tattooed. That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Like when you see somebody in the bodysuit, like we were saying earlier, you've been through some shit.
Oh,
dude.
we didn't, and there was no numbing cream when we
You've
were
been
getting
through some
heavily
shit,
tattooed.
bro. You've
know?
been through some shit. And there's no escaping that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of it, you know. It's a process, I guess.
I mean, I'm against the anesthesia, the numbing cream, the electric bicycle. I'm against all those things.
I just got an electric bicycle.
Ugh.
My grandson doesn't let me use it hardly, man. He's on it all
Well,
the
he should be
time.
pedaling.
Yeah.
He needs to pedal.
He's a little maniac though, you know, so he enjoys it.
My saying is that the electric bicycle is for people that are too lazy to pedal and not cool enough for a Harley Davidson. That's the market for electric bicycle people.
It is pretty cool though to go 30 miles an hour on a bicycle, you know. So
It's not a bicycle.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really like glad to be here. I just want to make art and, you know, feel good and yeah, travel, man. I want to see so many places. Like that's
Well, now you like you said earlier, you said this is like you got another chance at it.
yeah. And
You
I
know?
think I need to get out there a little more and do more. Like I'm going to Australia in August, which I'm excited about that, you know. And then I just told the shop kid, I'm like, don't book me anything in March. He's like, it's already halfway full. I'm like, I'm taking March off and I want to just paint, you know, and make some art. And yeah, I want to just leave behind as much as I can because man, the tattoos are awesome, but it's like they're fugitive, just, you know, just like life.
They go away.
Yeah. Like how many I mean, we were fortunate to see Jerry tattoos when we started.
There's probably not many. There's probably not a whole lot left.
Yeah, there's not. And
I had an old man friend, World War II veteran that had a Jerry tat, and it was, you know, like you said, like seeing the original.
yeah,
Like it moves you, even though it was blurry. It was still like, oh my god.
And dude, look, like Ed. I don't know how Ed's doing at this point. I know he's really sick, but man, he's gone. It's like
he created a lot of art.
You know, who's left? You know, like that whole, you know, era that we grew up. Like those are the guys.
Well, you know how Jack Rudy would make these T-shirt designs for all these tattoo conventions and the Pelons that everybody signs and stuff. It's like that was something that was like he created all those things for so many years, and they're all out there, and people have them, and it's like, you know, a little piece that you can, if you don't. I have a Jack Rudy tattoo.
I do
you know?
too. Yeah,
and that one, you know, they all suck when the guys that you look up to pass.
Yeah.
But, you know, Bob and Jack and Richard, those three people were literally like when I first started tattooing, like from Richard, I met Bob, I met Jack, I met these people, you know, those were like that's like the top tier of my generation of tattooing.
Me as well,
you
know? Yeah.
And
Ed, you know,
yeah.
like, and yeah, I was fortunate to know those guys, get tattooed by him. And yeah, it's crazy, but that's also a beautiful thing that, you know, that I feel like the tattoo culture now doesn't really have, is that history, that lineage that, you know, that we did, you know, it's changed so much, you know, like, I mean, that still exists and I think it always will, you know, but not on that level.
The one beautiful thing about somebody passing and somebody that's close to you and somebody you looked up to, or a hero or an artist or whatever, is that it kind of kicks you into gear a little bit to not take things for granted.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, it instantly makes me like want to reach out to people more and see people more and do more things, just because I know that like life is fleeting, you know. So, and you need that kind of, you know,
reminder.
As soon as you kind of get comfortable and start taking stuff for granted, life kicks you in the ass and something goes away and you're like, man, I'll never see that again. So now, you know, you can like, hopefully we can hold on to that a little bit longer.
Yeah. Appreciate it a little more. And yeah, I'm trying to put that into practice, like get out there, do shit.
Well, I appreciate you, man. And I just want you to know what of inspiration you are to a lot of people.
I appreciate you too.
And a lot of people in this last year, since you've made it through this big cancer leukemia journey, like a lot of people are finding out retrospect what happened. And it's super inspirational to know that you can keep up in the face of adversity. And this, I want people to see this book. I want more people to see the book that you made, and more people to see, the art. And even though it's a little, it's a small book. It's a quick little book, but it's super impactful just to see how much art you kept creating in this time. Because you created more art under those circumstances than most people I know created when life was good, which makes me feel kind of shitty because I haven't done much painting. You did more painting in the hospital than I do when I'm living a dream. So it's kind of,
but I couldn't tattoo. And now that I'm tattooing again, I'm not painting, so I still am making flash. And man, I'm excited. I'm leaving this weekend. I have like a folder full of paintings and prints, and I'm just going to go everywhere and, try to sell that stuff. Cause that's what we leave behind, like.
Well, you always do cool shit, man. You sell people, you sell a book, or you sell a flash, you sell a line drawing, and you give people an original with it. I mean, that's, so that's super cool. I know a lot of people, sell the original when they sell the flash, and other people just hold on to the original till the end of time. But the more people that have your shit out there.
I like it out there, man. I think it's cool that, hey, I was in fucking Birmingham and this dude had one of your paintings. Like, I love that. I think that's one of the coolest things. I'd rather not own any of my shit and have it all out there living.
Well, I travel a lot, man, and I see your flash fucking everywhere, dude. So you did and continue to make a huge mark. And it's fucking killer, dude. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks. And I appreciate you too, man. Always good to see you.
Well, thanks for letting me. I know you got to wrap up.
I am working on a book.
A new book
of our old boss. Yeah, Dale.
Orman. Well, we were talking about his art earlier. I made a comment. His art is most people has never seen this shit.
Yeah,
it is wild.
Yeah, he was, and man, like I said, everyone in Arizona at some point worked for him, and he just lived one of the craziest, most colorful lives, ever. He was wild.
It's crazy, folky, biker, tattoo tweaker, just everything kind of, it's wild.
Yeah.
Wild art.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really great. And he deserves the exposure, like everyone. I took a picture. I saw Grimy, in Sacramento. And I was like, hey, Dale gave you your first tattoo, didn't he? He's like, yeah. I got a little picture of it. Like everyone in Arizona at some point, worked with or knew Dale really well. And yeah, he's one of those dudes that just kind of flew under the radar, but he was amazing guy, So
fucking cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, bud. And we'll be in touch, and we'll see you in Albuquerque pretty soon.
Cool. And in the back of the book, there's a QR code for the bone marrow depository.
Oh.
And you can scan that and you can look into donating, bone marrow, which isn't an easy process, but you can, save someone's life.
Saves lives.
Yeah. So
that's fucking badass. We will also put a link to all that shit in the end of the podcast here. So I'll check it out.
Cool. Thanks.
Bingo.
Fuck yeah. Thank you, Oliver.
Hey, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Come on, guys. Click all those links. Push all those buttons because it really helps us out and gets us out there to more and more peeps. What in the Duck podcast is produced by Audra Cabral and John.com Niederkorn. Our sound, video engineer, and editor is Courtney, Junior Larkins. Initial audio video setup and intro music by Blake Balake Pinchon. And a big thanks to everyone that submitted questions. Y'all keep them coming. Email me any questions you would like me to answer to whatintheduckpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on What in the Duck. What in the Duck podcast is proud to be sponsored by Anchor Screen Printing. Anchor Screen Printing has been printing t-shirts and merch products since 1999. Anchor is the place for quality, small run items. At Anchor, every print is hand done by people who care about art. You can email anchorcustoms@gmail.com to talk about getting something printed for your company, brand, or shop. Anchor Screen Printing also has its own online merch store that sells Elm Street Tattoo, Cheap Thrills, Heart and Hand, Party First Safety Made Me merch, and much more. So go to anchorscreenprinting.com today and buy some cool shit. Or you can click the link provided in this podcast to shop now.